Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this morning, I'm joined, or this afternoon even, I'm joined by Ben Saville, and he's a new startup business coach and also a wannabe podcaster, just like myself. So, how are you doing today, Ben? You okay?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you for the introduction, Mike, and thank you for having me here. I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm awesome. I'm always awesome. I get to do what I want to do every day because I'm a self-employed entrepreneur, building and chasing my dreams. So, why couldn't I be awesome doing that?
That's the dream. That's what I'm chasing as well, man. It's a great life.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, I didn't crystallize what I wanted to do until the lockdown recently. But I was always around what I wanted to do. I know myself and I know what I want to do, but I really crystallized it in lockdown. So sometimes, you're on a path and you chase a direction, but sometimes you pivot slightly to a different path or whatever. So, you're young at the moment. So, hopefully you'll find what you want to do right now and just chase it forever. And at times be open to change and reflection, and there might be something else that comes along at a later date. But as long as you're keeping fun, having a good journey to whatever you're going in life, then that's the main thing as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, for sure, man. You pick up on like 3 or 4 extremely important points there, actually, for like myself, my journey, and things like that. Actually, like as you introduced me, I've started out business coaching. I took the term brighter journey business coaching because it's like what you said. It's like it's a journey, right? It's not just always about that end goal. It's about having fun. You doing what you want to do now. You're self-employed. That's kind of the life a lot of people want, or at least they want like some freedom. And I was starting to tap into that a lot more during the lockdown as well, which is obviously a point you brought up there. And also before lockdown, I didn't really have a clue what I wanted to do. I was always kind of, I suppose, waiting to have like, one day there's going to be a time.
Like inspiration.
We kind of started saying this kind of stuff before, we hit record, but a lot of the time you're sort of like, oh, I'm going to wait for this perfect time. I'm going to wait for something good to happen. And I mean, it luckily did happen. The coronavirus isn't a good thing that I'm fortunate for happening, but the lockdown and the opportunities that it's presented me, it's like, yeah, this is a good time to reflect on what I want to crystallize. And for me, that was helping people to have that inspirational journey that we're talking about, like living your own life, living like that brighter journey that you want to take. So yeah, definitely.
It sounds like you had a similar sort of journey to me, if you like, a lockdown situation. Because the thing is, we're busy people and we're always doing lots of things, and sometimes we don't have time to reflect. And actually, lockdown gives you not just time to reflect, but it actually gave a lot of people that sort of what am I here for? Those big thought processes, because you're faced with your own mortality, if you like, and questions that you don't really ask yourself and dig deep into you. And actually, sometimes people start living their best life when they come to a near-death experience. Their eyes open up and they realize that they're not here forever. And shit, I better do something about it. And I think
Right.
lockdown's been a bit like that for a lot of people. It definitely was a bit like that for me. Luckily, I went on a podcast of a friend of mine called The Fire in the Belly, which is an entrepreneur life story podcast. I was 2 hours going from start to finish. And actually that helped me to crystallize my why, why I do things. Because I always wanted to help people. I've been in business all my life and I love helping salespeople, marketeers, entrepreneurs. And that's what I thought my why was. But actually in lockdown, what I realized is, and actually a bit before lockdown as well, I've helped people with mental health issues and, all sorts of other problems. And actually what I realized is I just like helping people. You know what I mean? So why do I have to just narrow it to entrepreneurs? I'm always going to help entrepreneurs because I got sales skills, marketing skills, social media skills, entrepreneur skills, mindset training, personal development, things that entrepreneurs want and need. But I also can help people with organization, motivation. I got a happiness formula, which I invented during lockdown, which is about just being happy. Who doesn't want to be more happier? You know what I mean? So yeah, I think we've gone through similar journeys. So well done. And, enjoy the ride. I love it. I do. I love being in control of my own destiny, captain of my own ship.
Right, for sure. I mean, again, it's like what you said, this is like a reflective time. You kind of, it is isolation, right? In isolation, you have a great chance to look deep. And that's what people sort of stop doing, like what I stopped doing in my, my career before, which was just like 5 years of hospitality work, you know, bars, restaurants, doing my own events on the sides, a lot of hospitality stuff. And you're like, so I want to help people, but I suppose I can only help people with the hospitality trade because, you know, I know that. But then you start to reflect a lot deeper in like the coronavirus time. You're like, there's a problem out there. There's like multiple issues like with my life or, you know, that I could help people with. So let me stop, you know, especially in hospitality, is like, let me stop just making like these fun events that people sort of break away from reflecting inside and they pretend to have fun. It's like, what do you really want to change? And that was me, right? I really would love to have some independence in my life. And it comes so simple once as well. I'm lucky enough to have my uncle who's a coach. So then the reflection of things, it's just so much easier, right? Like when we're talking about coronavirus, you get a chance to look deep. Sometimes you need someone to bounce off. Like even like, you know, now just conversations, if you get someone on the phone just to crystallize those ideas. And after a bit of time, you're like really looking deep and you're really thinking, what skills do I have? Oh my God, I have way more skills than I thought.
A raver, I think you froze there. I think you froze there, but a raver in the field on his own is a crazy nutter. But if someone else joins him, he's the leader and he's got a good solid follower and those other people will follow. So it's great to have people to bounce off. It's great to have people as part of your team, people to reflect on. So yeah, carry on. I just filled the gap there when you froze a bit.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I've had some technical issues recently, but I was saying, as well, like sometimes just reflecting on your own skill set of like, if you want to make a change. For me, I just wrote out 5 years of experience, literally all my experience. It took up loads of pages, right? As detailed as I could go. And you start to reflect in and you realize like, hey, I just really like helping people. I've been able to achieve it before. I've been able to move businesses forward in a small way. And it's like, well, not in a small way, but like in a way that I didn't realize, you know? And then you can just do that and ask other people, do they want your help in that field? And you can just like kind of create something that way. And that's what I've really realized during the lockdown is you can find a way to help people, and that provides so much. You know, you talk about happiness. I think the thing that comes just a little bit before happiness is meaning. I don't know if that's part
purpose,
of the steps.
Purpose equals happiness to a lot of people.
Right. Yes, exactly. Because it's like happiness kind of comes and goes, you know, like it's kind of hard to be super in control of, you know, keeping your serotonin levels high or whatever.
I've been non-stop happy since the beginning of lockdown, but I've got a secret formula. So, you know, I got a secret sauce, a secret recipe, which I created during the lockdown.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How, does the meaning and purpose fall into that?
I think you know, crystallizing my why definitely was a big part of that happiness. And actually, that's not in my formula, so I might actually need to change my formula. Actually, I am going to change my formula. I actually just because I haven't actually started selling this formula yet, but I have promoted it a little bit. But I'm going to stick Y at the beginning of SMART because my process is called Smart Happiness Program.
Okay.
I'm going to call it Y SMART ?
Yeah, that's good.
Because it needs to have the Y. I think the Y is a big part of it as well. So actually, you help me to just slightly change the blend of my formula a little bit. And I'm always willing to adapt and change because, you know, I'm willing to take the inspiration as it comes. And actually, I think the why is important. So I was living happiness, which is how I come up with a formula at the time. And I've been mostly happy and mostly consistent and successful my entire life. So I would say I've been living 70, 80% of what my happiness formula now is. But I think the crystallizing the why and the last 20% made a big difference to my overall happiness. So I think I've always been happy. And I think most people out there who are doing what they want or something towards that are happy anyway. But I can just tip them over the edge into consistent happiness in a daily ritual, a daily formula, you know.
Is there any parts of that you could tap into now so I can get a bit more of an understanding of the formula?
I'll give you the formula if you want, because it's not a secret recipe. I may monetize it. I may monetize it. I may not. I may just give it to people because, like, if I can spread happiness, that to me is value. I created value for myself in a billion ways. And plus, I've got a success formula as well, which I'm more likely to monetize. So therefore, I might just give the happiness formula away as a taster, as a freebie. You know, make yourself happy. Come to me, and I'll make you successful. you know.
Mm.
But so the formula, the SMART stands for sleep, meditation, ability to perform, which in my way covers exercise, nutrition, and hydration. They're the three main things that keep your ability to perform. Yeah. A random acts of kindness and targets, target setting, target achievement. Yeah. So basically, most people do some of those things regularly. No one that I know does all of them regularly, except for me. Yeah. And I've been doing them all regularly since the beginning of lockdown. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm extremely happy, because there's not just, so there's actually scientific evidence behind the whole formula, and it's all scientific. It's not like, mumbo jumbo, or this will do this and this will make you happy. It's scientifically proven to make you happy. Yeah. Sleep makes you happy. Having less of it does not. Yeah. So you've got to have your 7 to 8 hours a day. Fact. Anyone want to argue with me? Let's have it, bring it on. You know what I mean? Let's have a debate, because it's scientifically proven that sleep makes you happy, and lack of it makes you not happy. Yeah. Meditation and mindfulness, clearing your brain and letting your brain settle, is like a reboot of your computer. You know what I mean? It stops the snagging and the slowness, and it actually sorts it out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bring it on. If somebody wants to argue with me, meditating at least once a day and letting your brain clear isn't going to make you happier, make your brains, your thoughts more collective, and make you more positive, because you know what you want to do, and your brain can help you do it. Ability to perform, lots of science behind exercise making you happy. Everyone always feels good at the gym when they come from the gym. They also feel good at how the gym makes them look and feel. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hydration doesn't make you happy necessarily, but not being hydrated makes you miserable. So you're going to be happier if you're hydrated. Yeah. Nutrition, a well-balanced diet. There's so much evidence that having a well-balanced diet and cutting crap out of your life is going to stop you having mood swings up and down. It's going to make you happier. Yeah. Random acts of kindness. Yeah. Releases oxytocin into your brain, makes you feel happy. It's like nature's high. Yeah. Yeah. So guaranteed to make you feel happier. And setting targets. Well, set yourself a big target. Give yourself the anticipation of a reward or a goal, or that target being the goal. And the excitement and anticipation releases hormones that makes you happier. Plus also target achievement, ticking things off and getting things done makes you happier. So it's all scientifically proven that these things singularly make you happier. Do them all together and see where you go.
Yeah, right. Yeah, your times. Yeah, you're multiplying it, each one.
Yeah, it's the compound effect of happiness on happiness on happiness. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for sure. I like the target setting one, because I think that was a big thing. We was almost like breaking into there as well. When we were saying about crystallizing your ideas and stuff. I think that's really important. But maybe people I find anyway, people shy away from it, because if you set yourself a target, you're also telling yourself the times in which you are failing. So that's like, I think that's the area that people, fear. But it's so important, because if you don't set yourself targets, you're actually really unlikely to ever achieve them. And you really do know deep down what your target is. Deep down, like, what you want to achieve. You just don't. I just find it easier, to write it down, to encourage other people.
I think the stats are 3% of people in the world put their targets down on paper. That's the 3% of the richest people in the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, I believe that to be the stats. That's the stats I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why are people successful? Because they're happy. Why are they happy? Because they're doing what they want to do. Why are they doing what they want to do? Because they're clear in what they want to do. They set themselves a goal and they give themselves a plan on how to get there.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's quite logical.
That's like a big thing that I really just get like clients to do. Just like, you just set a target. Hey, set yourself an actual physical target, rather than keep thinking like, hey, I want to do something that involves, me being free or me having some independence. Like, that was what was happening with me. And yeah, you'd get like these little sparks of joy when something kind of seems like it works, but you never, like 3 or 4 months of the time, you never even set yourself a goal, and you don't know if you achieved it. And it was almost like this random thing had to come up for the target to be achieved. And that was kind of like a point in my life where I I was getting into these circles of like, I don't really have any targets. It's great when an opportunity for me to create an event comes up, because I was getting really into like creating my own events.
Yeah. What events were they?
Like nightlife events, right?
Okay,
So like,
yeah, I used
well,
to do my own nightlife events myself when I was a kid, see? So,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah, well, I started off like, this was like kind of my first business ventures, and I think this would be more of a summary of how not to do any events or like do marketing, right? But I broke even, so I was kind of like in the safe zone. But it was all student events, and I just promote like the hell out of these things in a bad way, like everything social media, nothing face to face really, and I would get these massive high like numbers on my Facebook feed or whatever, but no real responses.
It wasn't much engagement, like,
No.
whereas I used to do it the old school way, see, when I was a kid. I used to go partying all the time with a load of flyers and just hand them out to people. Have a good time with people, and they would come to your event because they think, oh, it's going to be a good time.
Right, for sure. And then that was kind of the approach that I started to take later, when it was I was working in bars and I was making these connections with lots of people, like most of all, like the staff that I was working with, and you'd arrange like, oh, hey, do they have a birthday coming up, or it's leaving due, or I could arrange with the place that I worked, do you guys want to do like introduction nights out? So, if we're going to hire like 3 people, I'll be in charge of creating the events. But all of these things, they kind of like, they had like a randomness to it, like nothing like, hey, I'm going to write down that I want to organize 5 or 6 events in a set time. It was more like, hey, talk about it.
Organic opportunist rather than sort of structured and planned.
Yeah, and I think the structured plans does create a bit more happiness in the way that you said, like, when you succeed and when you fail.
Yeah, definitely. And you said about, people are worried about, if they set goals, missing them, if you like. Well, goal setting is a very important art form. Yeah. I think you've frozen again. Are you back with us? Hello? Yeah, I think you're back. I can hear you. Yeah. So anyway, well, Ben seems to get his Wi-Fi back on and working. I was just having a chat about goal setting, and goal setting being an art form. So I think it's important to get your goals and your targets right. Otherwise, it can be a bit of a struggle to hit them. So I'm going to pause it here, and we'll get back speaking to Ben when he comes back. Hello, everyone, and Ben's back, so we'll carry on the conversation. As I was saying, Ben, setting targets is a bit of an art form. You can't set them too far away, otherwise they're out of reach. But you can't set them too easy, that they're not stretching. So you just got to put them where, like if you're on your tiptoes and you're reaching out and you're reaching as far as you can. You got your fingers going and you're touching it and you're trying to get it in your grasp, and then it's there. That is where the target needs to be. Yeah.
Yeah, right, man. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
well, first of all, thanks for resetting this. Apologies to everyone that's listening for the break, but that was a very, very good analogy. I like that. You have to get it where you're really, really pushing to that last little bit. I mean, I'm reading. I haven't really got into it so much. The book, Your Flow, or something like this. It's called. It's about the flow state. And how targets need to be something that really challenges you to a point where you can achieve it. You need to try really hard, but it's not too easy where you get bored. Like, I think it was described to me previously before reading the book, like a Tetris game. Like, you don't want to set a target, or like if I hand you Tetris and I put it on the highest setting and you've never played it before, you're going to be like, hey, Ben, let's not play this game. This is a crap game. Like, what are you even trying to achieve? If I get on the lowest setting, you'd be like,
if I smashed it and I thought it was no good, I wouldn't want to play it because it's just, I've smashed it. What's the point?
Right. Exactly. Like, if I gave it to you on the lowest setting, you'd think it's a kid's game and you're like, well, is this challenging me? I can't really see the point. So it is like finding a target that's like, oh, I kind of don't want to do that, but I know I should. And it's like, it's going to take a bit of something within, and you just got to keep doing it and like pushing yourself to limits.
Yeah, but also where you know, people are concerned about missing those targets, I've got a simple answer that solves that problem, and that's just don't miss targets. So put them on your toes, put them in the stretching your fingertips away, and then hit them. You know what I mean? That is the key. You know, I've been in sales all my life, so I love hitting targets. You know, it doesn't mean I haven't missed a target in my life. I have missed a target. I'm just more determined to not miss it the next month. You know what I mean? Right. If I miss a target, I ain't missing it again. Like, you know, so something's got to, you know. And for me, I'm a you know, 9 out of 10, you know, 9 out of 11, maybe target hitter as a salesperson, as a sales manager, in stretching monthly targets, because I don't miss them. But that's because I do everything I can to keep learning and to keep being active until I hit them. Yeah. So when you first start in a business or in a company, you might miss your targets, you know, or you might set them too low and hit them easily. But you need to have them keep going up as you develop as a person. Your targets need to change. Yeah, and so they should always be just that little bit out of reach until you can work super hard and learn to just reach them. Yeah, so that's what I would say. So I got no problem about missing targets, because I just don't. I choose not to. I choose not to, because, you know, if I'm going to set myself a target that's stretching, I'm doing it because I want to grow and I want to stretch myself. So therefore, I'm going to stretch into the person I need to be to hit it or achieve it. Like, you know, that's what it's all about. That's why I say it's a science, it's an art form. Like, you know what I mean? It's about getting it right. But if you get that right, you know, so like when I started my podcast, just to give you an idea, I called it Mike Armstrong's Weekly Podcast, because I started at the beginning of lockdown, and I set it up with like pre-lockdown rules of engagement in mind. So I thought I can do one a week, no problem. But once I did that one, I thought I got to wait another week to do another one. I got more to say than this. Yeah. So I changed it quickly to Mike's Daily Podcast. Yeah. And then quickly, as I started doing my daily podcast, I started doing 3 a day on average, because I had more to say. Yeah. After listening to some 10x Grant Cardone audios and I think the magic of thinking big, I decided to go much bigger. So I set myself a target of 10 a day. Yeah. And actually, I've been hitting 10 a day. I've probably been averaging 8 a day. So I haven't been hitting target yet. Yeah. Not every day. But what I tend to do is try and catch up the next day. So if the target is an average, you know, sometimes I'm getting that amount of episodes out. Sometimes I average 10. Doesn't matter if I do 5 one day and 15 the next. So, you know, sometimes I'm getting it done.
Right.
Actually, I had my worst performance on the weekend. I did 2. I did one Saturday, one Sunday. I normally do. Saturday and Sunday are the days I normally get the 10 done. Yeah, it's in the week I struggle sometimes to get the 10 done because I'm busy doing other things. But what happened is, the reason I set myself a target of 10 but struggle to hit it is because I've been on a 75-day challenge as well for the last like 75 days, which is like reading 10 pages from a book, an educational book, doing 2 forms of exercise, being on a diet, drinking a gallon of water, not drinking any alcohol. On top of my work targets, I've had these other challenges or targets to hit as well. So actually I set myself 10 knowing that I would be able to do 10, but at the moment I'm averaging 8. But that's because I'm doing this challenge, but the challenge finished on Friday. It was my last day. And then I decided to chill out Saturday and Sunday, really, you know, because I've been full at it for like, you know, 75 days in a row. So now I've got to make up 18 or something through the week. I'll make them up, you know, and so it doesn't really matter. As long as you get to your end goal, as long as you hit your targets, it doesn't really matter in what order you hit them. It's like if you give yourself a 10,000 revenue target, it doesn't matter if you do 10 1,000s or 1 10,000. Still get there in the end, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it's things like that.
Yeah.
It's like you know, yesterday, for example, I set myself a challenge of doing 1,000 press-ups. And it's like I was never, ever going to do 1,000 press-ups in one go. That would have been impossible, right? So I made it quite realistic and done 100 every hour for 10 hours, right? And I managed it. And then one period of, well, yeah, it's not that hard, right? It's not really that hard.
No, it's not easy, but it's much easier.
Right, exactly, yeah. I mean, yeah, so anyway, there was 1 hour where I went away and I completely forgot. I was on a bike ride and I was like, oh my God, now I need to do 250 and 150. And it's like, okay, well, you know, there's 2 options. You either don't achieve it or you do. And you just need to, like, your arms are going to hurt, but suck it up kind of thing. I also think it's really important, something I think you was like sort of touching on, but is like setting your own targets, you know, because it's a lot easier to achieve something that you personally want to achieve. Like, you know, as we said before, like looking in deep, like in my role, what I've been doing for the past like 10 weeks, business coaching, first of all, I think I was not having as good of an effect because I was sort of setting people targets for them. And then they're like, yeah, well, you know, like inside they might say, yeah, oh, that's a really good idea, Ben. Like, yes, I should be doing that. I agree with you. But then they're like, oh, it's not really my target. I'm kind of doing this for someone else. So the best idea is like, just think, what do you want to achieve? Like, for example, what went well? Yeah, exactly. Because then you're like, I done this for myself. It was an idea that I thought of. And it shows like your sort of strength, like in the world, right? What you can achieve. And it crystallizes that. I think a good way of doing that, if you're unsure, because a lot of people, you know, they're not sure. It's hard to say, what do I want? It's really hard, actually. It's just like, hey, what was good about last week? And could you have made that any better? And like, what things didn't you enjoy about last week? Like, did anything spring up last week that maybe gave you a triggered response? You was angry, or you felt like, oh, I can't be bothered to do this, or whatever. It's like, yeah, just, you know, try and do all the stuff that made you feel good last week. Try and make it bigger and bring it into your work if you can, because, you know, that's going to keep it consistent. Bring it into your work, and all the stuff that, you know, maybe you don't like doing, just try and negotiate it. Like, you're going to maybe need to do it, but is there a way that works better for you? And also in the end, like what you've done, a bit of a victory lap on the weekend, right? You've done your 75, and it's natural. What you should be doing is saying, hey, now I've set myself that target. Don't be like, oh, hey, you know, talking to yourself, hey, I said we're going to watch a movie later, we're going to, you know, have a pint, or whatever it is, right? Whatever you like doing. Don't say later, well, you know, tricked you, we're going to do it again now, because you're having this fight with yourself and you're never going to achieve it. It's crazy. So I found that's quite important. Like, also, you know, for me, I would always say, I'm going to watch a movie tonight, like after I've done my work, and I'd never ever do it. I'd be like, got ya. I think it's really important to add those rewards as well in there.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you've got to be careful you don't associate certain rewards with certain activities, but it is good to give yourself a reward for achieving, and one that especially gives you that incentive to keep going. Like what you said about setting your own targets. Whenever I work for companies, I always set my target as being the best in the company. So I had to look at what the other people were doing and go, okay, how do I become that person? And I was pushing myself for me, not for the company. You know, if the company told me to sell 20 grand and the target was only 6, I'd have gone, well, why are you upping my target from 20 to 6? But if I tell myself to try and do 20 grand and the target's only 6, that's my right, it's my choice, isn't it? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think it's important. It's important for people to, like you say, pick their own targets, especially if you're in a company, you know, and you're given targets. As long as you don't pick a target lower than theirs, because otherwise you get fired. But pick something a bit better. Pick what you want to achieve. Set out, you know, how much do you want to earn, and set the target at what you need to do to earn that, and then work your way backwards. So, if, for example, you're already at 3 grand, say, a month in sales, and you want to be doing 10, then all you've got to do is 3 times more activity, or you've got to do the same amount of activity and get the results 1/3 better. So the conversion rate's 1/3 better, or the average order 1/3 better, or whatever. So there's ways of achieving what you want to achieve just by taking the process backwards a bit and going, okay, what do I need to do with the process? I help people with things like that because, you know, I used to be a sales director, so I said I was a bit of measuring KPIs and working out, you know, what have you got to do. So you know, that's what I would say there. So yeah, brilliant. We covered quite a lot. I usually like to ask people how the lockdown's been for them, but you know, you covered that. I usually like to ask people a little bit about what they've done in the past, which leads them to where they're doing now. We covered that. So actually, we're at a stage now, I suppose, where what are the plans for the future? You may not have those crystallized at the moment because you've only just pivoted, and often, you know, it's going to take you a bit of time to settle into what you're doing to see actually where you want to take it. But as you were having those contemplations and those thoughts to pivot towards coaching, have you had, you know, that big crystallized idea of what it is you're trying to achieve in the long term?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like I do have like detailed ideas in my head. I can envision like being in places and eating food with certain people that are like extremely empowering, people that we can laugh and joke with, and like there's a lot of value in that as well. Like, you know, building each other's characters and helping each other. I really want to have like a massive freedom in my work, you know, be able to help people from wherever I'm located. I've got so many friends in my previous jobs that are international and like really close friends, like people I really like. You know, I love these people. I want to go and travel with these people, go and see them, never be restricted in the same ways I was with my old job. That's like, hey, yeah, I mean, I would love to come and see you. Maybe you say yes and you don't kind of mean it because you're like, I know that I need to take some time off. Will that make my manager less like me less? Like, will I annoy the staff? How's that going to affect my financial, like my money coming in if I take 2 weeks off? All those things that kind of set me back in the past and made me feel like not the best friend, you know? I want to be able to achieve that. So I want to speak with more people that also inspire me in the same way that my friends do, you know, like really inspiring, driven, creative, brave, ambitious, these kind of people, you know. Maybe they're not 100% sure what they want to do and I can help focus them in that kind of way. That's really cool. And just travel the world, speak on big stages, do some more podcasts, maybe have my own podcast. I think that would be great. But mostly it's like helping people to make some transitional changes. I'm speaking to a lot of people at the moment that are like, they're in university or they've just graduated, or maybe they're thinking about doing a master's, whatever. They're not really sure what they actually want to do, apart from they're passionate about the thing they're studying. And I would love, like, I mean, what's happened already has been incredible, but love to just help people, like guide them into a place where they love their job, that they've practiced it, they know what they want to do, their passions are extended into their workforce, their workplace. And you know, like my little sister, I've got a 15-year-old sister. I would love for her to, you know, do exactly what she wants in her life. I just think that's so important and empowering. Like when I was working in bars and restaurants, a lot of the time you don't really enjoy the environment that much, and you're always talking to each other. We could have we could do something else. We could do this. We could do that. And it's like, what I want to see in the world is that actually happening. People actually coming to me and asking, hey, I've got some ideas, but I don't know how to execute them, or I'm not exactly sure how to follow up on my passions or what kind of job role I want. I just want to see loads of people blossoming in their field and becoming the best they can at that. And then at the end of the day, like, you know, the metaphorical day, we're like all chilling together, having like some great food in like whichever country we want, because we're not limited by a venue or a time. We kind of make our own rules, and we're extremely happy to be blossoming in that. And I just like to be someone that people can speak to for some advice, you know, like, oh, hey, speak to my friend Ben, he might be able to help you out. Like, how cool is that, you know?
Yeah, it's awesome.
So,
Sounds like
so that's kind of what
very similar goals as me. I see myself speaking on big stages around the world and making friends with people around the world, traveling a lot, spending time with them, you know, helping them in their business, all that. So it looks like we're doing very similar things. So good on you there. I agree with everything you're doing, because I do it myself. And you know, the more entrepreneurship that's spread on the planet, the more people that can actually be given the proper education of life, and not just, you know, the education they're given in the schooling system in order to go and do a job very well for someone. You know, it's about what can they do for themselves. You know, what can they do to take ownership of their life, rather than just, you know, to commit to work for another business for a long time. So, you know, I think you're probably, you know, able to reach out and speak to some of the people that need this help probably better than I am, because you're in the slightly above peer group age than they're at, whereas I'm a bit further removed. Yeah. So, you know, I help entrepreneurs in their 20s and 30s. I think if you was to help those entrepreneurs, you know, the ones at the moment, the kids who are like, well, I'm in hospitality, I can't get a job, what can I do? You know, they got a phone in their hand, think of something and start doing it, like, you know what I mean? So like, this is the best time to take ventures is when you haven't got anything to lose. Yeah. And if you're not in a job and you're not making an income, you've got nothing to lose. You know, you're living at your parents, you haven't got a cost of living to worry about. So now is the time to take risks and take big ones, because it doesn't matter if it all goes wrong, you can just go and get a job like you was going to anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you've got a lot more to lose in life when you've got a lot more to lose. So take your choices and make your risks and make your plays, and you've got nothing to lose. I think so many
Right.
youngsters, they don't get given that a mental strength training, that goal and target setting training. They're too mollycoddled by their parents these days, too spoiled a lot of the time. And so they don't get off their arse and do anything. And then they end up in boring jobs for 10, 20 years. And then by the time they get bored of that and they want to get off their arse and do so, then they got things to lose. So they do it all the wrong way round. So, what I would say to them and encourage you to reach out to them, because these are the people who are coming to your parties. These are the people that, are in your downline of your social group, if you like, the younger brothers and sisters of your peers and whatever. They're not my group, you know what I mean? But they're yours. So if I can empower you to go and empower them, I'd say, if that's an area that is, well worth investing in, because people shouldn't, these 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids should not be worrying about college and uni and coronavirus and lack of hospitality jobs and lack of this and lack of that. What they should be concentrating on is, what can I do that's going to make me happy in the world, build me a career and make me make money doing something I enjoy. That's what they should be worried about, and working out how to do that on their phone. You know what I mean? The thing costs 500-600 quid and you're walking around with it constantly in your hand. Stop TikToking and stop playing games and find a way of making money using the thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of great ways people just like, what I've really done for like loads of people, what I've really inspired a lot of people to do is literally just reach out to other people either in their field, like to find out if that's what they want to do. Just speak to someone in your field. That's always a good start. Speak to someone in the field that you want to go down, get them on the phone. Hey, do you like your job? Like, hey, like what bits is good or whatever. You can do that, or you can speak to someone who would like find value in your service. Like if you're at uni and you've been studying something.
I always say volunteer doing a few different things.
Right.
And then you see what you like. And ultimately, if you volunteer somewhere and you offer good value and you love it, you'll offer more value and you'll love it more, and they'll love you and they'll employ you.
Right. I actually have a system for this, like what is based on my hospitality, like on hospitality and business ventures that I've done, which is called complimentary cocktails. So it is that volunteer aspect. Give something away for free. Like if you've got a value like you can bring to the world now, if you like your hobby, if you are doing well in your studies, like, you've been studying for a long time in this, so try and see if it works in the real world. Give a complimentary cocktail, like a cocktail of your values and your products and services, right? Give a cocktail of that. Give it to someone for free. And then if you do it in the right way, people will be inspired either to ask for more, like, or to give a donation, like, wow, like you changed my life with that, or wow, that was so good. If it's a product, especially people like, do I owe you anything? Yeah, sure. Like donate to this page if you'd like. That's a good way to do it. That's a way that I've done in the past. Like donate to this so I can see how much the value of that service is. Like after a while you get an average and you're earning money to do it. And then second one is ask someone to share it with a friend, like a referral, right? Hey, maybe if you can't pay me, or if this is the early stages, so I'm not necessarily expecting you to, is there someone else I can add some value to? Whilst we're in lockdown, we've got nothing else to do, especially now, And then the other one is ask for a review, like a cocktail, right? I improved so many of the bars that I worked at by just asking for reviews, just finding ways to get reviews. Because then you find out what's working really well.
People free marketing for you.
Exactly, yeah. Like you do your service that you was going to do, like that you probably wasn't going to do, but you was going to study for a while, or your hobby that you was going to do for yourself. Bring it out to the world. People are going to respond in a certain way. But if you also do it in a nice way, you're not like making them committed to, you have to pay me, you have to give a review, you have to give a referral. Don't forget, it's a complimentary cocktail. It's a free service. So you say it in a way that's so nice and like warm. You say, hey, if you want to walk away after taking just a couple of sips of this cocktail, no problem. Like it's even valuable for me to just put it out in the world. This was actually part of
your feedback. What do you think of the cocktail? That's value.
Right. Like even like basically I started in the lockdown selling like portable cocktail experiences. And what I done was I just asked some people, I just put free complimentary cocktails or free cocktails, you get them. And like, loads of people gave me donations, which I wasn't even really expecting. I was like, I'm going to put this here and see if it works. good donations I was getting referrals and reviews, everything I wanted. But then there was a couple of people that didn't give anything. And then you're like, okay, well, what was the reason for that? And you try and like work it out, like what was their experience? And if you can get in contact with them, just say like, oh, hey, I know I haven't heard anything from you. Was there like a reason? You know, in a kind, nice, endearing way, like you actually want to know like 3 weeks down the line, and they'll tell you. Or the other thing is you had the experience of just putting it together and just just seeing the intricacies of this works. Oh, this bit's leaking here. I kept seeing that was a problem. It's leaking. So my idea is not fully complete. And then that's what you do. You just work on that. Step 1 is get your idea out there. Step 2 is change your idea a little bit. And step 3 is change the world. That's the way I see it, right? And that's I think that's all it is. Say it out there.
But there's a lot of youngsters, for example, who say, well, I can't get a job, but they got nothing on their CV of practicalness. Yeah, what they've got is education. Education's great, but it doesn't show you that you can use that education in an applied way to a benefit of a business, so that's why I say to people, well, just volunteer for somewhere, volunteer for a business, because people haven't got the money just to spend money on stuff that they're taking a risk on. They're thinking, is this person going to work or not? They don't have the money. But if you say, listen, let me just volunteer for a couple of weeks or whatever, and then you can see what I can do, then not only are you getting practical skills and a relationship with someone who could potentially employ you, but if not, you've got something on your CV to show other people, which puts you a little bit different than the rest. Plus, it also means when you get asked questions in an interview, you actually got real life scenarios and situations and stuff to talk about. So, like, I always think it's not that hard to get a job, really. There's thousands of people at the moment going, it's hard to get a job, it's hard to get a job, it's hard to get a job. It's not that hard to get a job. Go volunteer somewhere. There's millions of places that take you on straight away. You know what I mean? And companies ain't gonna keep slave labor for long. They'll test you out for a while, and then they'll decide to get rid of you if you're no good, or they'll pay you after a while. You know what I mean? They're not gonna keep you on forever. So just be willing to do that extra bit, go that extra mile.
Yeah, for sure. I remember like when I was younger, and I really related to this a lot. I don't relate to it anymore, but it's like this circle, and it's like literally a vicious circle of something like need experience to get a job, need a job to get experience. And it's like, the one thing that just breaks it up is how about you just go and get stop thinking about a job for a minute, like, oh, as in a physical thing, I need an employer to like me and sit down and interview. It's like, hey, just go and do it for a bit, go and do the thing.
Get experience. Like me, I got promoted 9 times in 6 years in a corporate tech startup business, and that's because I did more than they were paying me for. So I volunteered all the time. When I was a salesperson, I volunteered to be an assistant manager till they made me one. When I was an assistant manager, I volunteered to be a manager till they made me one. When I was a manager, I volunteered to be a business development manager till they made me one. I kept volunteering to be the role above by doing the stuff I wasn't getting paid for. Eventually, they give it to me. So, I know this stuff works because it works. Why wouldn't it work? Somebody come to me now and they said, listen, I'm going to volunteer for a while. I can't afford to take people on at the moment, But if somebody said to me, I'm going to volunteer for a while, I'm going to, go out door to door, commission-only sales or whatever, I pay them a massive commission. It's even that, I don't bother recruit for commission-only sales because not many people do that. But that's how I started out in sales. I started commission-only. I was getting paid what I was worth. And that's how I learned to sell lots, because I wanted to be worth more. But so that's why I look at, it's just the same as, unfortunately, I look at this a little bit as well, and kids don't want to start at the bottom. They want to go in higher up. That's why it's weird that we voted Brexit. We don't want any immigrants in the country, because it's only the immigrants who are willing to start at the bottom. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, a lot of the entitled generations, I would call them, of the last 20 odd years, I'd say, a lot of those entitled generations don't want to start at the bottom. They want to go straight in high up, and they're not willing to. Whereas when I started 23, 4, however long years ago, I started at 15, I'm 42 now, however long that was, I was willing to do anything. I did a door-to-door commission-only double glazing sales job because it's a foot on the ladder. You've got to be prepared to do what you've got to do. Is probably one of the hardest jobs in the world, door-to-door sales.
Why do you think people don't like starting at the bottom that much? Because I've spoken to people and they're like, yeah, well, it's not going to be good if I start something now or whatever. And it's like, yeah, no, of course it's not going to be great. Like, you're going to look back at, say, this podcast, maybe you look back at the first one and you just,
Yeah, well, I think it's because the kids these days are overly spoiled. Unfortunately, in my opinion, they're a little bit soft. I actually am quite glad coronavirus come along, because I think it's going to make Britain a bit tougher again, because we lost our war generation, and I think we were getting a little bit too soft, a little bit too entitled, and a bit too spoiled. Unfortunately, like when I was a kid, for example, I was out playing all of the time and getting a bit of rough and tough, playing in the woods, riding bikes, walking to school every day, and all of that. All of that's gone now. People are home all the time. They're being mollycoddled by their parents. They're playing games. They're being dropped to school at 16, still not walking their own way to school and walking back, and all this sort of thing. And I think the generation's just a little bit soft. And I just don't think they're prepared to do the work at the bottom levels that it requires, because those bottom levels, they're tough. It's hard work. And I think the kids this day and age, they look at that and they go, I don't want to do that. It's beyond me. It's beneath me. I'm entitled to something better than this. Don't forget, these kids have been getting 400 or 500 quid gadgets every Christmas for the last 10 years. They don't value money. Like back in my day, I'd be lucky to get maybe 100 quid at Christmas. These guys get new phones every year worth 300, 400, 500 quid. You know what I mean? I get a pair of trainers and a tracksuit and be happy with it. I know older generations than me, they get an orange and some nuts in a sock. You know what I mean? What I'm saying to you is that when you make people entitled, they become entitled. You know what I mean? And sometimes it takes a bit of realism in the world. That's why I like coronavirus, because it's made a bit of realism. I don't like anyone who's died from it. And luckily, I haven't been touched by anyone that way. And that's not good for anyone. But actually, people who can have a bit of reflection and a bit of I'm not entitled to the world. The world doesn't owe me a favor. And whatever I've got to do, or whatever I want out of the world, I got to make happen. There's too many people this day and age. I get contacted all the time on social media now by people who want me to give them money or give them a start or whatever. I'm like, I didn't ring you when I needed a start. I just got on and did it. You know what I mean? Stop asking me for money. I get contacted all the time by people all around the world. They want me to lend them money and give them money and all that. I say, listen, I'll give you some free advice. You're an adult. Take responsibility for your own life and your own actions, and go and do something to make it happen. You know what I mean? There's always something you can do. It's just a lot of people they haven't thought about it because they haven't been advised it. I wasn't advised it. I just went out and learned it. Get into the world and find a way,
Yeah. I think, for me, the quarantine, obviously the quarantine aspect has been beneficial, like as we said at the beginning, like very much you need to be accountable. And, all the time where we're like, well, you say, oh, the world could end tomorrow. And like, for once, it actually feels like the world could end tomorrow. And you're like, wow, I really was taking a lot of stuff for granted. Like the world it felt, especially at the beginning times. And it was like dress rehearsals for the apocalypse. And it's like, yeah, the world can actually change.
Not only is there a global pandemic, but we've got a number of countries that have got, buttons that they can destroy the world in, and the craziest people we've ever had in charge of those buttons. You know what I mean? Nothing is ever for granted. Like, you know what I mean? Nothing, the whole dinosaur race got made extinct at some point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You only got one life, and whether, the human race gets extinct or not, there's a guarantee that in about 80, 90 years of existence, you're going to be made extinct. You know what I mean? So whether, it doesn't really matter about the human race. It's just, are you going to actually take hold of your life and do something with it, or actually just, get in the circle of the rat race and doing the same as everyone else, and then get to the end of life like most people with a bag full of regrets. I wish I did this. I wish I did that. I wish I did the other.
Yeah, that's a massively scary thing. Just like going through so much of your life, like, oh, I can't remember one day from the next, and you get caught in these circles. That really does scare me. Like, I recently just, I just decided, make change for change's sake sometimes. You don't need to always have an answer, just like do it to like create this mentality where it's like, if something changes, you're ready. Like say, for example, there's a big thing that you want to change in your life, like maybe quitting smoking. Like, well, maybe if you could change your diet to start with and show how determined you are at that, and then you can make changes down the line when something big happens and you need to make the change. It's like extreme accountability, we call it sometimes, like people in my network, like as in take so much accountability for the things in your world that it's like, things don't really affect you that much, and take massive accountability for the people that are in your circle to help them through these times. It's not your fault that everyone's in quarantine, but can you make this quarantine experience better for other people? Like, you're stuck in a household with someone. If you could make the house just tidy all the time, or learn how to cook or something, right? Your life's going to get better. You're going to change the world. And I just think that's massively important.
Exactly. I've probably read and listened to 12 plus, maybe 13, 14 books, audio books, educational books, business books during lockdown. In the early part of lockdown, there was a billion online courses that were free. I probably went on about 20 of them, like, you know what I mean? I used the opportunity to educate and fulfill myself. I'm 43 years of age coming up, September, and I'm a lifelong learner. And if I think there's more to learn, the more I learn, the more I understand, the less I know, because there's so much to learn, and it's ridiculous, like, And, I study some of the best people on the planet in the areas that I want to be the best person on the planet at. Because, ultimately, what's the point of learning off people who aren't the best on the planet? You know what I mean? So that would be my advice to youngsters, is find people who are where you want to be and study them, learn from them, try and get them to be your mentors, do whatever you can because ultimately, it might take me 60 years to get to where I want to. Someone else might want to do the same thing as me and get there in 40 years. If they learn off me, they're going to get 30 years of learning crammed into 5 years. They just saved 25 years, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
I think that's
being clever.
Well, that's like our field, right? And that's the thing. I think a lot of people, I don't know there's like maybe a bad idea about coaches and, helping people, like reaching out to someone is so important. Like have someone who's done, maybe not even done the stuff that you've done before, but just can mentor you on the journey. So like for me, I don't need to have done the same thing as someone else. I don't need to be like in tech or in sales or selling whatever it is, like recruitment, for example, right? I don't need to do that. It's just like I need to help someone reflect their own journey and help them get to that point. People find it very, very hard to just base it off themselves, right? Like, I done this, that was wrong, that was right. Just like, branch out, speak to people, get mentors, like you said. I think that's so important. Like, really start thinking about the world as like lineage, right? Like what can you get from the people that have come before you, or even they don't really need to have come before you, but what can you take from someone else's journey and then add it to your journey? And then what can you do next with that is give it to someone else. It's like all this time, like perfecting how to become like a good role model. Really, that's really like a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And like I say, the reason I created a podcast is to help people, and I listen to other people who create their content to help people. So, I constantly got 30 years worth of experience to help people, but I listen to people who got 50 years of experience so that they can help me to help more people. You know what I mean? And it's just a flow, like you say. And it's interesting, actually, you mentioned flow earlier, because I didn't cover my 7-step success formula. But I got a 7-step success formula called streams. So like my 5-step happiness formula is SMART, and that's just for being happy. It's how to be smart in life and make your life enjoyable by being happy. And then streams is the success formula. So that is systems, technology, relationships, efficiency, action, marketing, and sales. Basically, if you can nail those 7 areas of life, and this is a lifetime formula, not a daily formula. And it's not a exact formula. This is just 7 areas of your life you need to just keep growing until you hit the level of success that you want to hit, whatever that is for you. You just keep doing those things. But if you make sure you work to the right systems, you implement technology which helps you with systems and efficiencies. You make sure you're building relationships around you. You're working on efficiencies and actions and you're doing marketing and sales, then they are the things that can make most people, all people probably, very successful in life. And actually, if you put the two formulas together, it's called smart streams. And that is an elite business performance formula, because you can do the success element without the smart element, but you could burn out quite quickly because you're not looking after yourself. Yeah. But if you do the smart stuff and keep yourself happy, then you get long-term consistent performance in your success. So you can keep building your success, but actually keep building your life as well, and your energy and your wellness, if you like, which puts it all together as a consistent elite business performance. And actually, I say the smart streams will put you into full flow. So like you said, you're reading the book about flow. Yeah. Well, ultimately, a lot of people have not really experienced flow. No, I've actually been in full flow a number of times, and it's awesome. And basically, if you're chasing the right things and you're invested in the right relationships and the right efficiencies and taking the right actions, etc., you will end up in flow where people who haven't been in flow won't know what that's like. But it just, I once, after winning my Network of the Year award, I was probably sleeping 3 hours a night and working the rest of the time, and I was just loving it. I was thinking like a ninja, overviewing everyone, just a completely different. And there's certain things that I can do in my life which put me into those states. So I've been in 3-month flows, 6-month flows. It's hard. You go in and out of them, but if you can consistently get into flow, you'll just smash life. And that's about getting the right balance of things, activities that you want to do on a day-to-day basis, and the achievements that you want to achieve. Because for me, it's all getting into flow a lot is about ticking off things on the list, big things on the list. So, and going into autopilot, you're doing the right things every day, day in, day out, to achieve those big things on your list. And you just start smashing them out of the way. You are like a full flow. You're like a river, a raging river, where you can stick a couple of cars in front of me and I'm just going to knock them out of the way.
Yeah, for sure. I think the autopilot thing is like, there's like pros and cons. You don't really want to be an autopilot, in the way that we said before about your life becomes a bit of a
yeah, you don't want to be in that sort of autopilot, but one where you're achieving the things you want to achieve and you're smashing them out of the way and you're doing it without actually even trying. Yeah, that sort of autopilot is a pretty good one. So it's a difference. One autopilot is aimless; it's just going around in circle, and the other autopilot is like an airplane taking off. Yeah, it's going in one direction very fast.
Yeah. Yeah, like certain things that you can have, like do like it does it itself almost. Like you've got to a point where it's working and you can just enjoy the ride. Like if it is like a plane taking off, you just kind of can sit back and enjoy the ride whilst you're in this flow. The flow thing is really important to like bring to real life as well as just business, because that's the thing I think loads of people miss out. They're like during the work time they sacrifice being who they want to be and having like that kind of enjoyment so that they can kind of get paid and they can be seen like to be good by their boss, and that they fit in, like they're in like this group now where no one can really pinpoint them. They work as a group now. But the thing is, when you're in flow and you bring your personality into the work that you're doing as well, you stand out, and it's like that's where you thrive and not just survive all the time.
Yeah, definitely. And that comes down to, if you're doing something you love and you're putting all of your energy and emotion into it, like, you know what I mean? Most people don't put their emotion or their motion into anything. So they're not going to get into full flow because they're usually doing things they don't enjoy and they're not putting themselves into it. But if you do something you love and you put yourself into it and you give yourself your all to it, then sometimes you can be smashing things. It's like Tiger Woods when he was winning title after title after title. But if you asked him, he was probably less tired, playing all those games and winning all those titles than all the other people around him who were losing all the time.
Yeah, it's
and
true.
He was doing more. He was playing longer. He was winning more. He was achieving more. He was doing more, but actually operating at a place where he was probably giving of himself less.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. Yeah, like people think, oh, if I put my energy into that and then it's going to suck my energy. It's like, no, it's like momentum. you know, like very famous person in the podcasting world, Joe Rogan, he talks about momentum so much, as in you got to keep this like kind of like the flow, right? You got to get into this thing where it's just one thing after another. Like, you know, sometimes Mondays suck, like what you've pointed out in your Monday motivation. The reason is because you kind of stopped doing what you were doing and the momentum's no longer there. You need to start it again. It's like, if you're in that place, go out, like what we've said before already, go out, try and volunteer to do something, just like create that momentum, and the wheels will just start to keep turning. And I think that's really cool. And like for example, even bringing it to like a way that people may have experienced it before, you know, sometimes you get out of the gym and you're full of energy and it's like, well, I shouldn't be full of energy, I just expended it. Or it's like, no, yeah, my muscles hurt, I'm like kind of tired, but like I'm ready to go again, nothing's going to stop me. Like, I'm walking home and I'm like, yeah, I'm the man. Like I'm that wave that's going to crash through these cars.
Yeah, exactly.
So
and that's it. Yeah. So I actually work just as hard on the weekend, a little bit softer maybe, but hard. I work hard every day, but I enjoy what I do. So it's not. I'm like that Tiger Woods. I'm going out and I'm winning, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. So I'm working hard, but it doesn't feel like it's hard work. Whereas there are people out there working 8 hours a day, and I'm working 16. You know what I mean? 17 some days. Yeah. But I don't feel as tired as that because I'm doing things I enjoy. They only do. So there are people who work 3 hours a day that will feel more knackered than I do.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not a time thing. It's an enjoyment thing.
I agree with you. I think also, you know, like in this coronavirus times, time itself is so different, right? Because it's like, well, you know, all the shops are closed. We don't have like the nightlife and all this. It's like, you know, kind of create your own sort of time that you want this stuff to work in and make that work. I think that's really cool as well. Like, you know, you don't need to do the 9 to 5 that someone else is doing.
That's why I love the time as well. That's why I love the time, because I like to be in charge of my own timeline. So although I work 16, 17 hours a day, some of that work is on me. It's exercising, it's nutrition and that, because I'm part of work. You know, if I don't keep myself looking good, feeling good, being great, then I'm not going to have a business. So that is part of work. I'm exercising every day as part of my job to keep myself sustained, fit, and being able to keep the momentum going. So although I'm working 16 hours a day, I can pick and choose when I want to go for a run. I can pick and choose when I want to go for a ride. I can pick and choose when I want to stop and have something to eat. I can even pick and choose if I want to go and watch the telly for an hour or whatever. I'm in control of the timeline. You know what I mean? Which is why I can work 16 hours and feel less tired than someone working 3 or 5 or 8. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because those people can't do anything they want when they want. They're having to do everything on someone else's timeline. And that's what lockdown has allowed other people to join my timeline. My timeline is I work when I want to work. I work on me the rest of the time.
You know what I mean? For sure.
So I think a lot of other people have joined me in that timeline as well and started to realize that that's what's possible. And that's what's really good as well, is that, you know, it's not just, it's like if I think, oh, I want to ring someone now, it might be 8 o'clock in the morning. I think, oh yeah, I can try them. Rather than before, I think, oh, they're probably on the commute or whatever. You know, they're ringing at 8 o'clock at night now. I'm thinking, yeah, I can try them. They're not doing anything. Yeah. They're going to be home, sat in front of their laptop on a Zoom call.
Right, for sure. I think it's like, yeah, it's really cool, you know, like to sort of look at all the time that you have in the day and see as like that as like business opportunities in the way that you are, like, you know, just keeping yourself active and using that. And it's like what I said to a few people before, I spoke to them on Friday and was like, what think about your weekend. What part of your weekends did you really, really enjoy? And what parts of that do you want to extend forward? And like for me, for example, I went to see one of my friends. We went for a bike ride, right? And it was like, you know, that kind of value that we have in these conversations, like I said before, what kind of people do you want to invite? And then you can see the things that spring up in your just conversations when you're really enjoying life. You're like, wow, I added value here, or that was really fun. I just really enjoyed that. Can I extend that into my real life? Can I, next time that becomes part of my life, would I count that as a working hour? And then it's like, wow, I get to do what I love and count it as my working hours. And then, you know, maybe not straight away I'm going to get paid for it, like what we said before. Maybe you might want to do some volunteering stuff, but still you're putting in a working hour and you're doing what you love doing. And then afterwards, when it's like more of a self-manager, you're managing yourself, and it's like, hey, I want to go and watch TV. It's like, yes, because I earned that. Not because my shift's over and the manager told me to get out or whatever. It's like, no, I want to go and watch TV and I want to enjoy that. I think that's an amazing feeling that a lot more people should be tapping into.
Well, most people, they work 5 days and have 2 days off, right? So that is like, 5 out of 7. So out of 10 is going to be like something like 70% work, 30% play. Yeah. So most people are doing 70% work, 30% play. I actually do about 30% play each day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So therefore, on a ratio of the week, I'm doing more than they are, like, you know what I mean? Because I don't see it as like 5 days of good days and 2 days of good days and 5 days of bad. I see it as 7 days of good days. Because every day, the stuff that people like to do on the weekend, I do in the week. I do what I want to in the week, but I also work on the weekend. But when I work on the weekend, I'm doing stuff I enjoy doing that I would do if I wasn't working on the weekend. So I'm doing a podcast, or I'm recording an episode, or I'm listening to an audio book, or I'm going for a bike ride. And I class off. So to me, there's no such thing as difference between work and life. Sorry, work and play. It's all life. You know what I mean? It's all life. So when I'm sat working, I always got the telly on in the background. So I'm like double living. I'm like living. I'm like watching TV, relaxing, playing, and I'm working on a laptop or doing some social media or whatever, working. So I'm actually getting there's two of me. So the 16 hours a day I'm working, I'm actually living 16 hours a day and working 16 hours a day. So actually having twice as much life as most people are having.
Yeah. I mean, my approach is slightly different. Like, I do work and have focused work time, but my actual non-work time doesn't differ that much. Like, I really love getting in engaging and like valuable conversations with people, and maybe spending more time on my own personal health, or looking at, like, I don't know, other areas of ways that I can help people. I suppose, on the weekend, I even do like gardening for neighbors, because at the beginning of coronavirus, that was another thing that I was trying to tap into, was like going out, putting out some leaflets. Hey guys, I would like to, I can add value by improving your front gardens, giving quotes. And that kind of went off. And now I don't have it as like a hustle. I don't want to do it. It kind of like springs up. Even sometimes I'm like with the neighbors, like I'm like covering my face, like hiding, like, oh my God, I'm going to have a job. But it's good. It's still enjoyable. It's lovely to be able to help these people, but just let these things spiral to that kind of point. What I mean by, the difference there is, I spend 5 days a week, and I'm like on LinkedIn quite a lot, like making connections, building connections, stuff like that. On the weekend, I really only will open it for a message rather than to put content out there, because I get to have more valuable experiences with the people that are really close to me. Like, again, like I spoke to one of my friends, and she's thinking about moving. She's got a really good job. She might be like one of my most high paid friends, right? She's got a really good job. And then she's like, I don't like it anymore, which happens, like that happens. And so just like having these valuable experiences with her, where we just chat, and I can just naturally, not like coaching her, but like sit down and start to understand where she wants to go in her work. And that's amazing. That's extremely valuable. And, I speak to other people, like, people in sports fields, and it's like, on your weekend you can just tap into that and go and try out a new sport, or go and help someone with that. Because if it's fun, just don't do it in a way where maybe you're gonna go in your uniform, or like whatever. Maybe you don't have a uniform, but go in with that attitude. Maybe go in with more of your personal personality, and a bit more of like an open mind, where maybe you could learn something a bit easier by trying something new, and then bring it into your week. That's kind of how things work for me. Even like, for example, not the weekend that went, the weekend before, I was watching loads of Harry Potter, because I started to get into the idea of like storylines and like metaphors that run really deep in like cult classic movies. I think that's what it would be called, like a really popular movies. And when I'm watching it, I just sort of take that approach, that open-minded approach of like, maybe they mean this. And then you can follow it up throughout the week, which I done was like, do little bits of like, oh, in Harry Potter, the same thing happens. Like, he's faced with a similar problem. You just don't realize it, because in his world, there's magic, and in your world, there's not. And it's like, yeah, try and tap into those things that you're interested in, but you don't always have the time when, like right now, I couldn't be watching Harry Potter personally.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've been watching David Dickens' Real Deal. He's on the telly in the background.
There's a bit of a difference.
There's a bit of a difference, but I think we pretty much covered a lot of things. I'm conscious we've been going for, I think, coming up to an hour and a half. How do people get in touch with you if they're interested in getting to find out a bit more about you and your coaching and all that?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, you can find me on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Those would be two of my preferred sort of platforms. My name's Ben Saville. On LinkedIn, Ben Saville, the Brighter Business Coach. And does this have video, your podcast?
Yes.
It does. Okay, so just follow the Ginger Fro, right? And then you'll find me. So.
And you're based in Nottingham, aren't you, Ben?
No. I was based in Nottingham. I've moved back to London at the beginning of. Just a little bit before lockdown, I moved back to London. So yeah, I'm in East London.
Okay, all right. I've got a mate who's got a hospitality consultancy business in London. He travels all around the world as a hospitality consultant. So it might be worth you hooking up with him.
Yeah, that would be great, actually. Yeah, I'd love to speak to him.
He's a big open network, a big Grant Cardone fan, similar to myself. So his name's Sebastian. So I'll send you his details or do an invite or something and see if there's anything you might be able to do to work with each other or help each other or whatever.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm always happy to just speak to people, however it goes. Like, connections are so important in the world, and just to add to that invitation for people to reach out to me, like, let's actually make something real. Like, if you've heard me speak and you enjoy some stuff or whatever, we can just have a call, we can just get to know each other and see where it goes. And that's it. We could just become best friends if that's what happens, nothing bad is going to come of it. So I'll be interested to see where that goes.
That's good. Yeah. And tag me in on any social media posts and I'll reshare it and stuff. Plus also, if you get 10 likes on a post in the first hour, it goes viral on LinkedIn. Do you know that or not? Yeah,
I didn't know that.
No. So ultimately, if you like and comment my post and I like and comment yours, then that's only 9 more you need.
Yeah.
And I actually belong to a pod, so I get 10 regularly. So a lot of my posts go to 500,000 views. But whereas without the 10 likes, they'll probably hit 50. Yeah. So I belong to a couple of different networks, etc. And obviously I've got people who I got LinkedIn pods where we put the posts out, we grab the link and we put it into WhatsApp, in a WhatsApp group. And then everyone jumps on the links then and likes them and comments them. We do them at certain times of the day so that you can get them done within an hour and that. But start liking and commenting my stuff and I'll start liking and commenting yours. And we're actually helping each other to spread the message and spread the word further, which is what it's all about. I'm big into collaboration. I don't see competition or competitiveness in any of that. I compete with myself and the best people on the planet in the areas that I want to be the best on the planet at. But, for me, it's about collaborating with as many people as I can to get to where I want to get to and to help them get to where they want to get to.
Sure. No, 100%. I find it odd when people are not so willing to make real connections. Like, they're very happy with just the click connect button. It's like, no, you got something that I can add value to, and you got something you can add value here, and it's like, let's just do that. That's very valuable.
I think there's 3 different ways why that happens sometimes. I think sometimes some people are selfish, just life. I think some people are ignorant, so they just don't know the benefit of actually getting involved in the engagement. And I think some people are just busy, But I would say that you should not be selfish. But this planet is one of giving. The more you give, the more you get. So you shouldn't be selfish. So life's never too busy to form good, long-lasting relationships. Yeah. And there's no reason in this day and age of knowledge and the internet to be ignorant of anything. So that's what I would say. So I'm sticking that out there. Anyone out there who's ignorant, busy, or selfish, pull your finger out.
Cool. That's a good way to end it, I think.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks very much for coming on the podcast and for sharing your information and chatting with me. And I wish you all the best.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you so much for the opportunity. See you later.
Yes. Bye-bye. Bye. Right, there's nothing else left for me to say now other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye.